We'll finish them tomorrow, which won't make the lesson 1-3 homework due till, what, Monday? Yeah. So, okay, so lesson 1-3 is piecewise defined functions. A piecewise defined function is something, like for instance this graph right here that has, if you look at mine, the red, the blue, and the green piece. And it's something that I can't just write one equation and say that's what this is. Okay, I can't do it. And so it takes several pieces to write this equation, to write this graph. Like if I was going to type this into Desmos to graph it, or my graphing calculator, I can't just type one equation. I have to type these pieces. So piecewise function has different rules for different parts of its domain. Okay, and that's what you're looking here is each of these pieces is defined on certain x values. So like the red piece, it's the equation f of x equals 7, so y equals 7, but it's just from -5 to -2. The blue piece is 5 minus x. It only goes from -2 to 3. The green piece is 2x minus 3. It only goes from 4 to 6. So each of these is defined little pieces. Now, here's the good news. Each of these are little pieces of lines. Can we graph lines? Can we write equations for lines? And the answer should be yes to that, right? You did that a lot in Algebra 1. You reviewed it even last year in geometry. Okay, so, and I'm going to just kind of look at like the green piece here for a moment. Okay, it says f of x equals, but remember f of x is the same as y. But if we think about that green piece as y equals 2x minus 3, what do you know about the equation 2x minus 3? What is that? That's a slope and then y-intercept, right? That is our slope-intercept form. And so that's stuff that I'm going to argue you guys know how to graph. Okay? That's our y equals mx plus b form. Now, here's the deal. That's what this green line is. But this is just a little chunk of it. So like if I was to actually graph this, I just want to kind of show you the connection. The minus 3 here would be a y-intercept of minus 3, so it would be down here. And then that graph of that slope of 2 is at rise 2, run 1. Well, here's the idea. I didn't connect that exactly right. That green piece is really that whole big line. But why is there only a piece of that line drawn on ours? Because it says it's only for the values 4 to 6. So as I take you through this, what I'm going to have us do is I'm going to say, okay, let's think about what the whole piece looks like. But then we're going to shrink it back down. And we're going to shrink it back down so that you just have that little piece you need there. Okay? So that's why I said y equals mx plus b. We can graph that. We know what to do there. It's just a matter of getting it for which sections we need it. Okay? So that's what we're going to work with. So I'm going to jump into this example. Our directions are to graph the piecewise function. And then at the end, we're also going to have to state domain and range. So let's look at the first one. We've got to remember how to graph some of these. It says f of x equals 3. I'm just going to have us think of it as y equals 3. Okay, dig deep in those brains. How do we graph y equals 3? Of course, we start off with one that's a little bit different, but you guys can do this. Savannah?
You go over 3 on x.
Not over 3 on x. Since it's y equals 3.
Straight line to y 3.
We're going to go up to y equals 3. And then draw a straight line. Okay. So in other words, because it's y equals 3, I'm not going over to 3. I'm going up to 3. And remember, think x-axis, y-axis. If you prefer, you can also think of this, and I don't know if anyone wants to. Whoops. You can rewrite this and think of it as y equals 0x plus 3. I don't know if that helps anybody or not, but you can think of it as 0x plus 3. Where we have... What? Mr. Long is in his email, and the announcement's supposed to have shut down. So we're just going to do that. There we go. Sorry. Why is everyone watching the TV and not this? Are we better?
Yep.
Okay. So, y equals 0x plus 3. Remember M and B, right? My B value. There's my y-intercept. And there's my slope. Now, I would hesitate to, you don't necessarily want to draw everything immediately as I draw it, especially if you're an ink pen person, okay? But generally speaking, what do we think of when we do this line? We just talked about we're going to do at 3, right? And then normally you would draw a horizontal line. Now, I'm going to erase part of this. So FYI, if you're copying down exactly what I do as I do it, okay? Y equals 3 is the whole line, but what's the catch here? We're only supposed to be drawing this line between -4 and -1. So you want to erase or get rid of anything that's not between the x values of -4 and -1. So where's the x value of -4? It's 4 left. The x value of -1 is 1 left. So we only want the piece of this line from -1 to -4 to -1. What has to happen with the rest of that line if you went ahead and drew it in? You have to erase it now. Okay? And so we're just looking from this line that is y equals 3 to go from the x value of -4, so 4 left, to the x value of -1, so 1 left. Now, on every line we do today, you have to think about your end pieces. There's a variety up here, yes, if you look at the original example. Your end piece could be a filled in closed circle, or it could be an open circle that's not filled in. What are your thoughts for the end pieces here at -4 and -1? Logan?
-4 will be closed and -1 will be open.
What do those dots look like to you? Because I don't agree with your vocabulary.
The -4 is less than x, and then the -1 is less than or equal to.
Right. So when I draw these dots, am I filling them in or not?
You're filling one in, but you're not filling the other
And which one's which?
in.
I've got him questioning himself now, don't I?
The -4 is the one you're filling in. You have it backwards.
You have it backwards.
-1.
So your vocabulary goes with what you're filling in, but we've got them backwards here. So at -4, this one, because it's not equal to, I'm doing what is I call an open circle, and it's not filled in. Okay, because it's not equal to right here. There's not an equal to bar. We're not filling it in. What's that mean on the other end? There is an equal to. This is what I call closed, and it is filled in. Okay, so that's the one little piece. Now we have to repeat that process for the other pieces, okay? So I'm going to pick a different color here. And now I'm going to look at y equals -x. What can we tack on with that to make it a complete equation if we wanted to?
Plus 0.
Yeah, y equals -x. We can say plus 0 there if that helps. What do we know about slope and y-intercept? Y-intercept is what? Right, and what's my value there?
0.
That's the 0 I tagged on, isn't it? Okay, so we know whether it's going to be part of this line or not. I know it's going to, when I start trying to plot my line out, it's going to go through 0, 0. What's my slope? It's the number in front of x, which officially is -1. What is -1 as a fraction? -1/1. And what's our phrase for slope? So what's that mean from 0 I'm going to do?
Down 1/1.
Rise -1, run +1. So I'm going to put some dots. But again, am I going to keep all of these? No. So I'm going to go down 1/1, down 1/1, down 1/1, down 1/1, down 1/1. We can go as far as we want, right? Now, we could also maybe need to reverse it and go up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1. Now, I drew a lot of extra dots, so you don't necessarily want all of these. Which ones do I need?
This one's between 2 and 4.
No,
Zero and
sorry.
2.
0 and 2. So I want to use the dots that are from 0 to 2 as x values. So 0 is the one at 0, 0, and to 2. I want those pieces right there, yes? I want to start at 0, 0. I want to go through 1, negative 1, and I want to end at 2, negative 2. This other stuff? Okay. And I would like to think that as you get better at this, you won't necessarily put a bazillion extra dots in like I am. I'm just trying to get you to think, okay, it could be any of this. You have to pick out the piece it is. What kind of ends would you like on this? Both closed, which means what? They're filled in. That's because they're both equal to. Okay, now we have the third piece. Okay, what do you know about y equals negative x plus 3? We're going to have a y-intercept of what?
3.
3. And a slope of?
Down 1 over 1.
Yeah. The slope still of that negative 1, which is still the same, rise negative 1, run 1. Okay, so now, as I look at intercept of 3, I'm probably not going to use that dot if I had to guess, just because I've already got that blue line right beside it, but you never know. So there's my getting my line placed. From there, I'm going to go down 1 over 1. And this is just placing my line. Let's see, I've already gone farther than I need to go anyway, so I'm going to stop. Okay. That's, if I had to draw this whole line, I would connect all those dots, right? But which piece of this line do I need? Have you figured that out?
From 2 to 4.
It tells me right here, from 2 to 4. So where is 2? That's over here at 2, 1. So my piece of line is going to go through 2, 1, 3, 0, and 4, negative 1. The other pieces, if you put them in, are now ready to disappear. Okay. And what's my last question? What are we doing? Well, hold on. What am I doing at the end parts of this red line? Okay, neither of them are equal to. Just 2 less than x, less than 4. So I'm going to use open circles. Okay, so that's what that piecewise function looks like. Now, we still have to answer domain and range. Okay. Domain is definitely going to be the easier one in this scenario, or just in general, because I'm going to take you through it on the graph so you understand it, but you can kind of cheat and use this up here as your domain. We just have to put it all together. In my notes, I have an interval notation, so I'm kind of assuming that's what it asked for, the form it asked for in homework, but I don't remember. Okay, so domain. Domain are my x values, so we're asking how far left and right. Okay, so where does my graph go? What's the first x value it starts at?
Negative 4.
Starts right there at negative 4, yes? So we're going to put negative 4. Looking at that endpoint, am I going to put a parenthesis or a bracket with that negative 4?
A parenthesis.
Parenthesis because that is an,
Unclosed circle.
okay, that is an open circle. It is not equal to, and so we're going to use a parenthesis. Notice, what was the first value up here in my domain? Negative 4. Okay. Now, so this green line goes how far over?
Negative 1.
It goes to negative 1. Is there another piece of the graph that automatically picks up at negative 1?
No.
No. So we're going to have to stop this interval here. So it's going to stop at negative 1. At -1, is that a parenthesis or bracket?
Bracket.
It's a filled in circle. It was equal to up here, so it is a bracket. Okay, I'm just going to use a comma. And we're not done yet, are we?
No.
So we're going to start over again now. Okay, so we finished at the end of green. Now, where do we pick back up at? What's the next x value that gets used?
0.
And that is the point at 0, 0, yes. So now I'm going to have a 0. Am I going to use a parenthesis or a bracket with that 0?
Bracket.
It's a filled in dot, yes. So I'm using a bracket. Okay, now we keep going right. We go right. Where's the blue line end at?
2.
2. But what happens with the red line? It picks up at 2. So is there ever really a gap? No. Okay, now if both of these were open circles, we would have to talk about there being a gap and what to do. But there's no gap here because this circle is used, this circle's not, but 2 is used. So we keep going. How far does the red line go?
4.
Goes to that x value of 4, doesn't it? So now we're going to put a 4 here. Parenthesis or bracket. It's an open circle, so we're going to say parenthesis. Now, did you guys catch? We really kind of followed this right here, didn't we? Okay, that's the nice part about domain. We basically went -4 and -1. Well, 0 to 2 and 2 to 4, the 2 overlap, so we just went 0 to 4. Okay. Range, we don't have that to go off of. So range we have to do all on our own. I'm going to do it the same way, except instead of going left to right, I'm going to go bottom to top. Okay? Only because I want to start with my lower numbers. So, as I work my way up this graph, what's the first y value I run into? Whatever the bottom of this blue line is here, yes? And how low does that blue line go? -2. So we're going to start with my bottom range value of -2. Because remember, range is y, right? Parenthesis or bracket with -2.
Bracket.
It's a filled in circle at 2, yes. So it's a bracket. Comma. Okay. -2. We go up. Let's see. My blue line ends at 0, yes. But in the process, my red line started, didn't it? So we start at -2. We're going up. We're going up. When do we have to stop? That red line ends at 1, doesn't it? Do we have anything that, does the green line pick up at 1?
3.
Yeah, it doesn't pick up till 3. So we have a gap here, right? So we're going to have a 1, -2 to 1, parenthesis or bracket at 1, parenthesis. And then we have this gap. What about that green line? What's the y value that it starts at?
3.
3. What's the y value it ends at?
3.
Okay, it is just a horizontal line. It is what we call a constant function. Constant function just has one y value. So we're just going to use this as a 3. I believe they would want you to put brackets on that. And I say brackets because I know there's an open circle on one end and a closed circle on the other end, but here's the deal. 3 is one number and it is used. Okay? So, for whatever reason, my notes, I did not put that in there and I forgot to. Okay. That's how you graph piecewise and do domain and range. Okay? It takes a little work, but I hope it's not quite as daunting if you break it into pieces. Okay, that's my hope here. Okay, let's try and get through the bottom one. As we go into this, first of all, I ran into this issue this morning. I guess there's a typo on your notes that's not on my screen. Do you have this little equal to next to the 0?
No.
Yeah. First hour and I were kind of arguing about one of the answers here, and it turned out that I have the equal to, you guys don't. So please add a little equal to next to that 0. It is supposed to be there. My apologies. Okay. Now, okay, First one. Y equals 1/4 x plus 3. What do you know?
Y-intercept is 3.
Y-intercept is 3. So I'm going to at least have to think about it, point at 3. I don't know whether it's going to be part of my graph or not. I haven't looked at my domain. And a slope of 1/4. And what's my phrase for slope? Rise over run. So in this one, from this dot, I'm going to up 1, right 4. You can go up 1, right 4 again if you want. But you're actually going to find out that we really need to go
Down 1, left 4.
down 1, left 4. Now, all I've kind of done is plotted my line out, yes? We have to figure out what points we need. What domain is this on? -2 to 0. Well, what do we notice here? At -2, I don't have a dot, do I? Where would that dot be?
Wherever the line would be.
Okay. And think about it though. At 0, my line is at 3. Or my dot is at 3. At -4, my dot is at 2. -2 is in the middle, yes? These are straight lines. What logically does that make the point at? And actually, I don't want to make that so big because... But that's going to make it straight in the middle, because if this is at 2 and this is at 3, this dot's going to be at 2.5, 2.5.
Yes.
Okay, so we want to go from -2, that dot that's at -2, 2.5, over to 0. So I only want that little piece right there. Get rid of anything else. That was your scratch work, so to speak. What about your endpoints on this line?
The first one is open, the second one's closed.
Okay, at -2, it is an open circle. At 0, it is a closed circle, and that's because not equal to and equal to. Okay, you ready for the next one? Okay. What do you know about y equals 2?
The straight line.
Okay. Easiest thing to do is say go on the y-axis, which I didn't label my axes here, but go on the y-axis to 2 and draw a line that goes through it. You can also think of this as 0x plus 2. Either way, your y-intercept is 2. And a slope of 0, that means you have no rise. The slope of 0 means 0 rise and all the run you want. So, y-intercept of 2, and basically, however far you need to make dots over, right? Probably didn't need all those, but I did. How far do I need to go? So we're starting at 0 and going to 4. And the others are my excess. What about your endpoints?
First one will be open, the second one will be closed.
Okay, at 0, it's not equal to. So there's open. At 4, it's filled in. And how do you guys feel about y equals 3 minus x? Are you guys okay with that? Some of you are going to be okay with it. If you're not okay with it, if you're someone that you prefer to see the x first, then this is, if we move that x first, it is negative x and a positive 3. Okay, if that helps you use it. What's my y-intercept here? 3. And what's my slope? It's that -1, that invisible -1. Okay. So y-intercept of 3. Oh, well, that's interesting. We already have a point there, don't we? But that's just kind of my, okay, that's kind of my get this line placed thing, right? And then what's a slope of -1 look to do? Down 1 over 1. So I'm going to go down 1 over 1. Down 1 over 1. Down 1 over 1. Down 1 over 1. Yes? I don't know how well you guys can see those points. But it's just, you know, I just have kind of little red, that's kind of lining up where I'm going to go. Which pieces are we using? X value is 4 to 7. So where's 4 at? Count from the right 4, and X is 4 is right here. So we're going to be from 4, -1. And we're going to go through what? 5, -2, 6, -3, and end at 7, -4. So if there's anything you need to get rid of extra, do it. Did you put your end pieces on?
Mhm.
At 4, it's not equal, so it's going to be open circle. At 7, it's filled in. Okay. Individual pieces, right? These are easy peasy individual pieces. It's just putting it all together that is a little intimidating. Okay. Let's talk domain and range. Must have talked faster in this class or something. I'm running ahead. I'm not going too fast, am I? This really talks really slow first hour. I don't know. Okay. And ask questions if you have them, okay? If you're not sure about something, ask questions. Don't let me just continue on. Okay. Domain. Are you thinking about it? Domain is X's or Y's? X's. Okay, so how far? Left. What's that first left X value?
-2.
Yes? Right here. My green line goes farthest left. And that is 2 left of the center. So that is a -2. What are we going to put next to that -2? Parenthesis or bracket. What kind of dot do we have here?
Open.
It's open. It's not equal to, so it's a parenthesis. Okay? Comma.
7.
Yeah.
7? What?
Yeah.
We're just going to jump all the way there?
Yeah.
Let's see if we like their answer. Okay, -2. Green goes over to what?
0.
0. Now, does something else start at 0?
Blue.
Yeah.
The blue line starts right below it, doesn't it? And the green line, the dot was filled in, so it's okay that the blue dot's not filled in. Okay, so we'll continue. Okay, blue starts at 0 and it goes over to 4. Do we end at 4? No, because on that same vertical line there, the red line starts, doesn't it? So it starts at 4. How far does it go?
7.
Goes to 7. And 7 with a,
Bracket.
it's a filled in dot, so a bracket. That doesn't usually necessarily happen on piecewise functions where all the values from -2 to 7 are included. But it did, so we'll enjoy it, right? Does it make sense with here? This goes -2 to 0, 0 to 4, 4 to 7, doesn't it? It all connects, so it makes sense. Just not always the normal. Okay. Range. Only thing I dislike about range, you don't have this to kind of help guide you, do you? Okay. How low can you go?
-4.
I don't know. What do you guys think? So bottom of my red line is the lowest spot. And if I count down, it goes 1, 2, 3, 4. So it goes -4 low. You want a parenthesis or a bracket with that?
Bracket.
Yes? Point is filled in, so it's a bracket. Okay. I'm going to trace this red line, trace this red line. Where's my red line end? Okay, it is at the y value of -1. Do we have something picking up right away? There's a gap before we get to blue or green, isn't there? Okay, so we're just going to go -4 to -1. Open or closed? Or, well, open, so we're going to use a parenthesis. Okay. Okay, we have a gap. What's the next y value that has some graph on it?
2.
That blue line, yes? That blue line, it's a horizontal line, yes? So all y values are 2. So since that line is at 2, it's going to be a bracket. Does my next piece connect it to?
No.
No, the green piece doesn't come down as low as 2, does it? So that means like the previous one, I'm just going to kind of do a 2 there. Okay? And it's in brackets. Okay? Green. How low does green go?
2.5.
That's the one that I said it was 2.5, right? Because if we looked, it was between 2 and 3, and it would make sense. It was a halfway point. So I think I have in my notes 2.5 as a decimal written. At that 2.5, it is parenthesis, because it's not a filled-in circle, comma. How high does it go?
3.
A height of 3. And what do we notice about that dot at 3? Bracket, because it's filled in. Okay. Those are the pieces you have to work for. Questions? Okay. When we start tomorrow, we will be doing the reverse of this. They're going to give us the equation, or excuse me, the graph. We have to write the equation. Okay? So that's where we will start tomorrow.